up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. This is the podcast about trees and other related topics. Why me? I'm only one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson.
It is I, your other host.
Oh my God.
I'm Casey.
You cut the line.
I'm sorry.
Usually I introduce you, but you introduced yourself.
I was panicked because I'm taking off a sweatshirt. I didn't know we were going to start yet, and I was too hot.
I kind of surprised Casey by starting the episode, and here we are.
Okay, I'm ready.
Welcome to Completely Arbortrary.
My name is Casey Clapp. Over there on the big green couch is Alex Crowson. Mm-hmm. Wait a second.
The big black chair.
Oh my God.
You're the one on the big green couch.
I'm
You're looking
thrown
into
off.
a mirror.
I am looking into a black mirror.
Casey,
Alex,
I have something exciting to share.
you do? You didn't tell me about this?
Long-time listener, Rex.
Rex! Oh, Mr. Woo!
Mr. Woo.
Hi, Rex.
We love us some Rex. Rex sent us fan mail.
What?
Yes, it's true.
Oh, man. Every now and then we get a fan mail, and it just makes my day.
And me too.
Thanks, Rex.
Anytime we get like...
Well, I'll wait to say thanks until we hear what he has to say.
Yeah, it could suck. Maybe, fan mail doesn't have to be positive.
Mm-hmm. Then doesn't it become hate mail?
Yes.
Does that still come from a fan?
Which is a crime.
Yeah.
I think so.
Which is a crime. The most heinous crime.
Rex says, hi, Alex and Casey. Put my name first. It's sad to see my favorite podcast going on hiatus, but also exciting to learn what's next for you two.
It's going to be wild.
And Rex sent us two things. For Casey, a book featuring 12 amazing Taiwania cryptomyrioides
What?
in Taiwan disguised as a calendar.
This sounds awesome. Wow, thanks.
I cannot imagine someone who would enjoy as niche as this book as much as you do.
Yeah, that's fairly fair. I do. Yeah. Someone's like, you know what? What about this monograph of junipers? Casey's going to love this.
It's either Casey or the trash can.
It's one of the two.
For Alex, a book about the warmth brought by music in a dystopian world.
Whoa.
Reminds me of your warming presence for us fungal associates. Gosh, thanks, Rex. And Rex says, thank you for 5 amazing years.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that. You know what? We're not ending the show. I've decided we're going back. There's just too many nice things.
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to pass this to Casey.
Okay. This is so exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Rex. We really appreciate it. We love reading things.
God.
And it's always nice to receive, love languages, Casey.
Yeah.
Giving gifts.
Yeah.
I always, back in the day, I was like, that's so selfish or that's so vain. You just want, what do you want, a car? But now I realize that something little isn't about the gift. It's about, hey, I thought of you when I saw this.
Exactly. Yes.
And I think of you when we're not together. And I think that's such a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah, that is true. Let's see. My love languages are I like to receive words of affirmation and touch.
Well, Casey, as I put my hand on your chest, I say, we got to go to a break, but you're doing such a great job.
And I'm like, I love this.
And when we get back, we're going to talk about, what's that? Western juniper?
Oh, wait, haven't we already done that?
Yeah, I guess we're doing it again. Nice. We'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we are, ready? Doing it again. That's right. We're doing Western juniper. Juniperus occidentalis.
That's it. Yes, very well done.
Yeah, boy.
Now, before we get going, I have to dedicate this episode to my friend Jenna. Who is a forester, an extension forester with Oregon State University, just out over in the Central Oregon area.
Shout out to Jenna. Why are you dedicating?
That's a great question.
This episode to Jenna and not me.
Well, mostly because you're involved with it, and I can't dedicate something to like a co-author. That's weird.
Oh, sure.
That just doesn't quite. I just don't think
This song goes out to my guitarist.
Yeah, exactly. The guitarist's like, what? I wrote this song. So Jenna and I walked around and did some things. We met last year over at this tree school thing that I'm doing again this year, and we ended up talking a lot about junipers and ponderosa pine. And she being an extension forester in Central Oregon, there are 2 main trees that she deals with all the time. That's
Western
mostly
juniper and ponderosa pine.
Exactly. And in particular, Jenna has just got a special place in her heart for the Western juniper.
Okay.
So So initially, while we were doing kind of our planning phase for this era of the podcast, one of the things that we talked about doing was kind of doing a last revisitation of a few different species that we didn't get to talk about kind of the whole thing. As you're aware, every time we do a show, we have to talk about like one particular detail about one particular tree. Every now and then, we might have like a fun facts kind of episode.
Sure.
But notably, if anyone ever says, "Oh, you just have a podcast of fun facts," it grinds my gears to the end of the world. Happened one time, I remember exactly the situation, and I'm like,
I remember you telling me about it as if it were yesterday.
And you got upset. You smashed a guitar right when that happened.
That's true. I did smash a guitar.
Yeah. So that was, so most of the time, we don't really get that option. This time, we are taking that liberty.
Wow.
And so I want to talk about this because Jenna brought up something that I had never quite thought about. And being that she is all about the Central Oregon trees, it was all about the Western juniper. And I was like, well, shoot, we've already done that tree. It's like, well, you know what? We're going to do it again, god dang it.
Hell yeah.
This is such a fascinating idea that I kind of played with over the years, honestly probably the most recent last year, which is essentially kind of taking some ideas that exist in the world of forestry and kind of I don't know, looking a little closer at them, doing a little bit more of a questioning of the conventions.
Yeah.
One of which is this idea of old growth and succession.
Okay. Wow, now, that's a big topic.
Big topic.
And if I recall, last time we talked about Western juniper, we talked about its like bad reputation.
Yeah.
Which was a false. It was like you framed the wrong guy.
Well,
or it was framed for water suction.
Yeah, exactly.
For drought.
Well, and the biggest thing, the problem with it, and so the reason I was actually thinking about this just yesterday, driving through that area, and it's vilified because it is a native tree that used to be held in kind of its normal habitat, for lack of a better term, by fires, really were the big thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Where you always have fires that used to come through either naturally occurring or set by the local people over thousands and thousands of years. They would happen like every 5 to 15, maybe 20 years over in the east side of the Cascades here in Oregon. Generally speaking, just east of the Cascades in Oregon and Washington, Northern California, over into Idaho and Nevada.
Okay.
So those fires would run through and they would burn up some of the smaller trees. The big old trees, though, would survive. So you end up getting this kind of woodland with ponderosa pine in it that are really widely spaced trees.
That's right.
Really big, wide, plates on the tree, so they're really old. And they just kind of kick it there. They can take low-intensity fires, many, though, over a small period of time, as opposed to what we have now, which is these huge, big, like, catastrophic fires.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
So historically, these woodlands would have little fires that go through and kind of keep junipers at bay. When you got rid of those fires, the junipers were like, what's up? I'm moving in. This is like what I do.
Sure.
So they are very well adapted to this environment. So people would call them invasive species. And you and I talked about the idea that these invasive species, how could they be that? Like they're native species.
Yeah, they're just opportunists.
Exactly. But are they opportunists or have they just been held back, this whole time?
Interesting.
So they've been vilified because they are just doing what they naturally do, taking their opportunity, right? So that was one side. But the other side that I got kind of interested in with talking about these trees with Jenna is that they're kind of unique, our Western junipers, in that to find out which one is old growth, it looks nothing like what an old growth tree kind of definition would be for another kind of forest system.
Big and tall.
Exactly. What if the trees never get that big and they never get that tall?
Yeah.
How do you tell when they're actually an old growth kind of thing?
They kind of get old in like 3D.
Yes, that I love. 4D, really.
Whoa, time.
Yeah.
The ultimate dimension.
Exactly. The ultimate dimension.
You can tell an old juniper because it just looks storied.
Yeah, exactly. So the question is, well, what can we define is storied?
Interesting.
That's where I think we want to go today. We will talk about what it makes what it takes to be an old growth tree and how junipers do it in a very particular fun way.
Well, how exciting. Let's imagine, as we do every episode, that we are walking through, let's say, Eastern Oregon, let's say like Bend area.
This is a great area.
And we come across, I don't know, 8 trillion Western junipers. Let's ID these trees.
All right. So you're walking around, you see these pokey looking specimens, kind of dark green, yet kind of bluish green. They generally have a very triangular shape to them.
Interesting.
More or less. Not widely open at the top. They haven't kind of flattened out. They're usually going to be these kind of like triangular looking trees that are growing up.
May I?
Yes.
Pyramidal.
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful.
Pyramids are like the spheres of triangles.
Now that is Shakespearean, Alex. You know
Is
what?
it not true?
I take it back. We are ending the show. We are still going to end the show.
Oh, no.
So
that was the thing.
That was what killed it.
All right.
Yeah. It was that joke. I've had it up to here with you.
Well, I don't know if I would call it a joke.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Neither would I.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Okay.
So they're not that tall. The tallest one might be like 40 feet tall. So not like wildly huge for what you'd expect a tree to be.
Okay.
Generally speaking, it'll have one central stem, but every now and then it'll have multiple stems that kind of come up and shoot around. So it's not going to be something that is just a perfect single monopodal tree for its entire existence. Often it'll die back and send up new branches from the side that become kind of the more, the canopy of the tree.
It's more
on older trees.
It's more decurrent than it is excurrent.
Yes, especially with older age, which is one of our like little clues about it being old growth or not.
Oh, great. Okay.
So most of the ones you're going to see around Bend in particular are going to be the triangular shaped because they are younger trees.
Okay.
Post-settlement, I should say.
Post-settlement.
Yes. So generally speaking, it has 2 different kinds of foliage as you get closer. You have the scale-like foliage that you'd expect for a cypress family tree, which this is one. And those have scales that are on either side of the twig that are really tiny, very tightly oppressed, so you can't tell the difference between the leaf and the twig, really. And you'll have 2 different pairs. One on the left and right, those are lateral, then one on the top and bottom, those are facial.
Oh, yeah. This gives it sort of almost a round appearance.
It does, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's like you take a square, then round off all the edges.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
And that would be it in cross section. Now that is those mature kind of what we call adult leaves, and that would be on older parts of the tree that have not been damaged in a while from like an animal or a hedger or something like that.
No, I think I know where this is going. Are the younger foliage all like?
Yes, sir.
Thought maybe so.
Man, we got to take you to we got to go get you get you to take the ISA certification
That'd
exam.
be great.
Yeah,
Casey,
you're there now.
Casey and I were at an undisclosed area today, and we stopped and looked at a tree.
Yeah.
And just so casually, I was like, oh, hemlock?
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, this is the eastern one. And you're like, oh, hemlock?
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about the eastern hemlock. You just knew it.
I just knew it.
Beautiful.
Hit it.
So the leaves on our little juniper here, they are all in 3s. So they have the scale-like leaves for the adult leaves, so to speak, those that are not in danger of getting eaten. And those are all in 3s. They're scale-like, and they have a little teeny tiny resin gland on them.
Oh.
And they tend to exude a small little drop of resin.
Is that why they're kind of bluish?
It's exactly why they're kind of bluish. Okay. But they also have like a little stomatal bloom kind of between the leaves. So you can see them on really close-up views, the green leaf, but on the edge, almost like they're outlined in a nice little light blue, whitish kind of waxy coating.
Cool.
But then in the middle of that is that dot of whitish, bluish resin. So it gives a really beautiful, like, 2-tone pattern the whole way through.
Gorgeous.
Now, it also will create those all-like leaves, which are the same kind of scales, but they are longer, and then they just go whing, and they just pop off and be these really sharp points that help keep things at bay, like, your deers and your elks or whatever wants to eat them and that kind of thing.
Can I ask a question that I'm sure I've asked before?
Yes.
I think I know the answer.
Ooh, okay.
All-like when they're younger.
Uh-huh.
When they get older.
Yeah.
They're scale-like.
Yeah.
Now, those all-like are not transforming into scale-like.
No.
It's like this has lived for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so the new foliage that we put on this next year is going to be scale-like.
Yes, exactly.
And then all like on these older trees, all the all-like stuff is probably fallen off.
Yeah, it tends to be. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Unless it's on the newest growth. In certain places,
Oh.
like the ones that grow really fast.
Yeah.
When they're growing really fast, we call them like whip shoots or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're just like these really long, very quickly growing, elongating shoots.
If there's some damage or something.
It's honestly just because they're kind of growing so fast that the scales kind of almost get stretched and pulled out, and then they end up putting on a little bit of a sharpened point.
Okay.
Those are the most delectable bits because they're not so hardened and woody or filled with lignin and things like that. Tannins.
Irony.
Exactly. But yes, you're exactly right. As the trees get older and nothing is nibbling on them, then they tend to be just straight up only the scale-like leaves.
Okay.
Great question, though. I also had this thought where I was like,
Wait a minute.
so wait, you mean when the old leaves like mature, they just become scale-like? It took me a long time to figure out what that meant too.
I had this idea of them like transforming at some point.
Yeah, honestly, and it's kind of what it sounds like. That's what we do as animals. We go from youth to old age,
True.
and then we change and grow our beards or whatever. So, yeah, I think it totally makes sense.
All right.
Now, as you look at the bark of this tree, you'll notice that it is very fibrous looking. And on the younger trees, it can be more kind of scaly or on small twigs. It's kind of like it's kind of flaky, scaly, I think, is the best way to describe it.
Like psoriasis.
Yes, exactly. It looks like you should probably put some cream on it and be like,
Okay.
ooh, are you okay? You live in an arid space.
You need a moisturizing
Yeah,
routine.
that's gross. So it does that. But then, Alex, as it gets older, it will start to become a little bit more fibrous and a little bit more furrowed, where you kind of have these fibers kind of develop into these ridges that are fibrous only on the top.
Interesting.
And it looks like very intense. Like it doesn't look like something you can just kind of walk by and be like, oh, whatever, I'm just not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
You walk by and you're like, oh my God, that's ready for something. I don't know what it is, but it's ready for it.
Interesting. Is this kind of like, I always imagine like the painted hills, like the sedimentary rock formations and shit. Like kind of furrows, I always imagine that.
Oh,
as,
yeah.
that kind of bark.
No, I don't. This one doesn't quite. I don't think it's quite like that.
Not furrowed enough.
It's actually a little bit more sharp, I would say.
Let me just fucking look at it.
Yeah, go give that a Google real fast, because it's not that the furrows, like a Douglas fir, they're kind of like triangular almost, because you have it's almost like they're actively splitting apart. So as it gets older, the bits on the very outside, they are smaller because when they were initially growing, the cylinder of the stem was smaller, right? And then every year, as the cylinder itself gets bigger and pushes those outer bits further out, then it basically creates this like triangular shape to it. So the furrows literally look like V's going from the outer bark towards the stem and then back up.
It basically just looks like it would give you one hell of a splinter.
Yes, but it's fibrous entirely.
Well, how do you mean?
So
Like Western red cedar?
Yes, exactly.
Bark? Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like it would give you a splinter, but splinters come from like really hard wood.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
And so this, you look at it, and instead of being V's of this like furrowed bark, those individual ridges are much more like very vertical, I guess. Of course, they are somehow a V, like, they're all connected at the base somehow. All right, at some point when you look down, but they don't get big enough, the trees themselves, to really create a long, wide V. The V's are very short.
Sure.
So or very, very
narrow.
Narrow, thank you, that's the term.
Narrow and long.
Yeah, but then on the very outside, the ridges itself are just like little fibrous bits, you know? So when you look at it, it looks really rough and hard, covered with like a fibrous outer coating.
Cool.
Which I think is really effectively beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Personally. So you'll see that. Then, of course, you're going to see them little cones, baby. Those are the juniper cones. You know a juniper cone when you see it because it looks like a berry.
100%, yeah.
The irony is you didn't know it was a cone.
It's just like a blueberry.
It just looks like a nice little blueberry. Tastes horrible, though, unless you love sap and resin. Yes, so it's got those little blueberries, those little cones.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And those little guys are distributed by birds. They'll eat one and they go poop it out, so that helps spread the junipers all over the place, right? But they are just so gorgeous. They're generally dioecious, but not entirely. So most of the time, there'll be some trees with the seed cones, some with the pollen cones. But honestly, some of them are just like, whatever, I'm going to do both to some degree or another.
Can we talk maybe briefly about the anatomy of this cone?
Yeah.
What is the outer coating? Because it looks like an orange peel. Well, it looks like thick almost.
Yeah. Okay. This is a great question.
And it's smooth, so it's not like you can see the texture of the cone.
Yeah.
And it has like a glaucous covering. It has like it looks like a chocolate coating. It looks like a chocolate coated blueberry.
Yeah. If the chocolate was whitish blue.
Yeah, well, it's kind of they're painted, they're air sprayed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay.
Air sprayed.
I like it
to look like that because they're blueberry.
Well, I think okay, you're on the right page. That's the thing. Is that the outer waxy coating is the same that is on a blueberry or a grape or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
So it's the same exact like glaucousness, this little waxy bit that's made by the epidermis of the cells themselves. So that's what is on the outside. But just like a grape or a blueberry, you can just rub that off with your finger and then it will be gone and you can see the kind of the scale outline. So if you did get one and you put it in your pocket or something, or you rub it with your fingers,
really?
You'll be able to see all the individual scales that have just more or less fused together. But it's kind of like your skull.
Yeah,
where if you see the skull of a human, it has like those suture lines where all those bones kind of went
like tectonic plates.
Yes, exactly. So you can see those if you get rid of that white outer coating.
I did not know that. I kind of always thought that it was something you had to like peel off or chip away or something, but it's just a thick coating.
It is. It's a very thick coating, yeah. But nonetheless, easily wiped away.
Great.
And you can find like there's sometimes little points on them where you can see like, oh, that one, there it is. It has a little tiny point kind of in the middle of the scale.
Yeah.
So they are the exact same anatomy for, I shouldn't say exact. They are very similar anatomy to the cypresses. And the reason they developed into their own species was one act of polyploidy where they just doubled their genome and then poof, they were now a different species.
Whoa.
Because they couldn't hybridize or they couldn't breed with the old cypresses. So it would basically be like, okay, great, I'm just going to create a whole new set of genomes, like double the amount of genes that I have. So now I have twice as many as you. So now we can't breed because you have half as many as me. So it became its own species. And then that own species became its own genus, and now it's obviously junipers. One of the fastest spreading and speciating conifers of our modern era.
Well, up and coming.
Just in case you're interested.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah. So it is anatomically very similar, except for, of course, it's become a little bit more juicy, tastes a little bit nicer for those birds, and has that kind of fused together so they don't break apart like the cypress cones do.
Juicy?
Yeah, these are succulent.
Fleshy?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. It's a little bit. I don't know if I quite say that.
Okay, but a bird can eat it whole. I guess they're not picking the seeds out of there.
They are picking the seeds. The seeds actually should pass through them.
Yeah.
So they, if you like take one, you squish it in your fingers.
Yeah.
It will be like kind of juicy, but it's juicy in the way that it's like filled with kind of this resin.
Sure.
So it's succulent is the best way to describe it.
Gross.
Yeah, it's just wonderful.
I mean, those birds like it.
They like it.
That's all they really need.
It's just for the birds. It's what it is.
It's for the birds. You need, if you're a tree, you need one good participant.
Yes.
To help you spread your seeds.
Agreed.
And if anybody else doesn't like it, who gives a shit? At least you got giant sloths.
Yeah, you got your buddy. You got what's going on. Yeah, I know, poor things. But this case, the birds, they love it. They'll take it. Sometimes deer, sometimes little mammals will do a little bit of that dirty work and move those seeds around.
Cool.
So they just are generally liked species by the rest of the flora around.
Fabulous.
I should say the rest of the fauna. I don't think the flora actually like it. According to us humans who get to decide these things, this is what I learned now. So one final thing I want to note about this tree in terms of identifying it, because its leaves are all in threes, if you look at the end of the twig, like you cut off a twig and you face it so you're looking right down the barrel from the end, the newest end to the oldest end you're holding in your finger, it will be in threes because all of the scales, all the leaves are in threes, which means all of the buds are in threes, which means all of the twigs that come from those buds are also in threes. So if you look at them, every single thing will be in from that one particular direction. It will look like one coming off in one way, another in another, another in a third.
Yeah.
So it looks like these kind of tri-spoke wheels or something like that.
Wild. And does that go down to the cones? The cones grow in threes?
No, the cones don't. I think the cones should still be in pairs, paired scales.
See?
Yeah. But honestly, I would have to look closer. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I have never counted the scales of an individual juniper, and I cannot see that someone has done it here at the resource I'm looking at.
Because why would you?
Well, because some of us are freaks, baby. So that is how you would identify a Western juniper.
I just love these trees.
You do?
I do.
Whoa. Okay, hold on.
So
Let's get into this. Tell me more.
Well, they just look like they're just like a piece of classic Americana.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
They're like a Budweiser beer.
You think that this is so Americana that it's like the Budweiser beer of trees?
No, I think Budweiser beer is the beer of junipers or something.
All right. I like where we're going here. It's the juniper of beers. You know that?
Point being, I think they just look like one of those classic designs. I just love the way they look.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, they do. They're beautiful. They have like such a particular kind of appearance to them, right? And for a certain texture.
Totally.
Well, so this is kind of the thing that I think really ties into what we're talking about today. Because what in particular came up was trying to figure out, I think what Jenna told me, which piqued my interest in a particular way, was that this is the only species that we use what it looks like its morphological features to determine if it is in fact an old growth forest or an old tree in an old growth forest system.
Okay.
As opposed to other trees where we would just drill into their stems and we'd say, yeah, okay, this tree is 400 years old. Or we can look at this kind of like the old style. So when we covered what does an old growth forest look like, there were 4 particular things that I brought up. One is that it has to have big old trees.
Yep.
The other is it has to have big old standing dead trees.
Yeah.
The third, it has to have big old trees that have already fallen over and are laying on the ground.
Nurse logs.
Exactly. And fourth, they have to have a second canopy layer of trees that are growing underneath it, this kind of secondary succession that's happening.
Okay.
Now, the reason that this is an old growth kind of complexity, and I say air quotes because, we're going to ask some questions of that today, is that you have this succession happening where when you go from early to mid to late succession, you have trees that take over from shrubs and forbs and grasses. Then those trees are the early ones that then die and get replaced by late succession trees. The late succession trees are shade tolerant, so they can grow underneath the shade of the early succession trees or their own late succession trees, right?
We've also talked about early succession trees that become late succession trees.
Yes, which also kind of throws this whole idea kind of away. It's like, well, if they're all of it, then is that real? Are we just going to change the definition of these trees to fit this arbitrary description of how we see forests developing?
Right.
Huh. Anyway.
Less linear and more circular.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but we'll have to put a pin in that for the time being.
Aww.
I'm sorry, Alex. We'll get to it at some point, but we're right.
No,
we're adjacent to it today.
I'm
really
definitely
pretty intensely.
Okay moving on.
What? You are? I'm surprised. All right. Now that you're not okay with it.
Oh no.
So these are like the old style ways that we would look at an old growth tree or old growth forest, excuse me.
Yeah.
And we would say, this is an old growth forest.
Kind of 4 qualifiers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then, let's say it's a Western hemlock. That's the classic Doug fir Western hemlock forest system old late succession tree.
Okay.
And the Western hemlock can grow underneath Western hemlocks. So as you're doing this kind of cycle, when you get to the late succession old growth phase, conceivably, you have this little tiny self-feedback system where the shade-tolerant late succession trees are growing underneath older, already big late succession trees.
Of the same species.
Yeah, generally of the same species.
Okay.
Maybe there's a few others that have kind of popped in wherever there's been some small scale disturbances, but on the whole forest is just regenerating itself with the same species coming up the same underneath the same species.
Okay.
Yes. So when you get a big disturbance, that whole cycle starts again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then you develop this whole thing. So with the Western juniper in particular, and some other junipers as well, you can widen this, and I think a lot of this discussion is based off of other reviews of like the juniper pinyon forest down in the southwest United States.
Okay.
Kind of basically saying, how old is this? Is this an old growth forest? Because this is a forest. Is it a forest? How do we determine these things? And everything started to break down.
You're saying that's sort of ground zero for this idea?
Yeah, a lot of it
This
came...
new kind of way to look at old growth?
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay.
someone needed to give a definition. And so they say, well, what have we done that's somewhat similar? And then they would use that as a baseline.
Okay.
So ideally, then when you're looking at this kind of new system using some already established baseline, it kind of gives your kind of conclusions a little bit more weight.
Interesting.
Like, you're not just making something up out of whole cloth.
Sure. This has happened before, or this
Yeah.
is happening right now.
Someone did this already for a different similar species. Does it work here?
Cool.
That kind of question. So generally speaking, when you try to apply the same ideas of what an old growth forest system is composed of, and you apply that to a system like a juniper forest, it doesn't quite add up.
Because that will look nothing like the Douglas fir Western hemlock forests
Yes.
of the Pacific Northwest.
Exactly.
Okay.
So first off, there's one species.
Yeah.
There's not going to be other species popping up underneath the canopy because where they grow is such an arid zone. The only tree that could possibly sometimes come in would be ponderosa pine. But ponderosa pine needs a little bit more water. So it tends not to find its way into these areas. They are filled with junipers because junipers are the only ones who are tough enough.
Casey, I have an idea.
Yes, what's your idea?
What if we talked about those 4 points that you were saying, the
Sure.
old growth points, and apply them to a juniper forest?
Let's do it.
and see how it compares.
Well, yeah, we're going to do our best because then in some cases we have to just come up with whole new ideas. That's the fun part.
That's great. You
Let's
take care
do
of
it.
that.
Okay. I'm going to go to the store.
I'll lead the discussion.
So, lead away.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Big, tall, old trees.
Yes. So, they only get like 30 feet tall.
Not tall.
Not tall. You're not going to find big, gigantic trees that are growing out there. They're growing really slowly also. So these trees can live to be extremely old, like well over 1,000 years.
Whoa.
So when you're seeing these big old trees that are growing up, they look more like a bristlecone pine
Sure.
than anything else. So the biggest, oldest trees have lived through the longest amount of time, which means they've had enough time to deal with a whole shit ton of things. They have an intense amount of dieback where they have grown up, become a certain size, dealt with a huge amount of drought,
Sure.
and then died back a little bit. But because it's so arid and because they're decay resistant already, their branches just don't really decay. They just kind of sit there on the tree as just these large dead sections.
Even after they've been compartmentalized?
Yeah, exactly. They've been compartmentalized
They just
off,
hang out.
and then there is like strips of bark that grow up, like the bristlecones as
Yeah,
well.
I've seen that.
They only connect to like a certain branch that has a little bit of living tissue on it.
So cool.
Exactly. It's the coolest thing. And like when you see it though, you're like, that's old.
Be like if Frankenstein's monster, they killed him except for his left arm.
Yes, and his left arm is like totally like
Flailing around.
and then rebuilds the rest of him slowly but surely.
oh.
Now that would be
creepy.
cool. Yeah.
So
Wouldn't
he
that
has
be
like
great?
a dead copy of himself on his back.
Yeah.
Cool.
But then that is like just slowly but surely getting like pushed away.
Fun.
I don't know. This is something we should think about more. So that would be the one thing is
Okay.
that these big old trees, they don't really look big and old in the traditional sense. They
Yeah.
look big in terms of like, well, they've put on rings, so they got a pretty decent diameter, but like 3 or 4 feet is nothing for a Douglas fir.
Sure.
But it is the world's biggest Western juniper.
Very experienced looking.
Exactly.
There is something that happens in the bark and the morphology that is like you deal with the elements in kind of like a scarce environment for that long.
Yes.
You're gonna look interesting.
Right?
You know.
And like 40% of the trees in one of these studies that I have, that was missing 10 to 15% of the canopy. and had dead branches.
Wow.
So 40% were missing between 10 and 50% of their canopies.
Wild.
So that's so much of like the proportion of their bodies that are just dead, just not doing anything.
Oh, it's so creepy. Okay, well, number 2 is we have big tall snags, dead trees.
Yes, that we can also say there are dead trees that are in this area.
Okay.
And in particular, there are dead old trees and dead branches and dead limbs and things on the ground.
Okay.
And here is something that I thought was really fascinating. They did some cross-referencing of some of the dead parts they found on the ground, and they found that some had been cross-dated to have died in the 1300s or the 1600s.
Whoa.
And then have just been like sitting there on the ground, not decaying.
Whoa.
For somewhere between 700 and 400 years.
That's almost unbelievable.
Yeah. And they also had cross-dated it back to when some of them started to grow, which was between 0 and 50 BC.
Jesus
For
Christ.
context, that's when Caesar was looking north saying, God looks like I could just totally take it.
Go ahead and tell the whole story.
All right. So it was 18.
It all starts with a wolf.
It all starts with a wolf who eats his brother.
Okay, so there are big, but do they behave, or what am I trying to say? Are the snags in the juniper forest, do they serve the same purpose as the snags in the other old growth forest?
Yes.
And animal habitat,
Exactly.
I think that maybe that's it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they become, it adds this layer of complexity.
Yeah.
And it shows that this forest has not had fire come through. So remember I told you at the beginning that fire had kept the junipers in certain areas.
Yeah.
And then as fire's gone away, they've expanded their range out into these other spaces.
Sure.
But there are certain areas where the oldest, longest lived trees are growing still, and they tend to be like on rim rock edges or on pumice soils at big spacing where fires just can't go through because there's not enough fuel for it to go from point A to point B.
Sure.
So you end up getting these spaces where there are dead trees that died a long time ago that have just been kicking it and getting covered in lichen.
Wow.
Because nothing's there, no fire is coming through. And it's already arid enough that there's not like just enough fungus and moisture in the air to just start to decay that wood.
Interesting.
And same thing for what's on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
So you end up finding this woodland that is covered with large down woody debris, large standing dead trees, and large living dead trees, but they're all the same species, and they're all in different kind of, I don't know, they're not even different phases of decay. They're just kind of, one is dead standing, one's on the ground, and one's still alive.
Yeah, different stages of life.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
So the third qualifier, downed debris.
Yep.
Although it sounds more like limbs are just falling off, not that these trees don't seem tall enough to like fall over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, some of them do. Like you can get a big wind comes through and like some decay. They definitely decay. And that's one of the big things that kind of add to this whole thing is that they decay in the middle. So it's hard to tell the age.
I see.
Yes. So you're right. So they don't drop like big limbs, but they can get struck by lightning or something, kind of split apart. Yeah. So you can see big dead parts like laying on the ground, but you're exactly right. There's not like a whole tree that's just kind of tipped over.
Yeah.
That's a little more rare.
Okay. And of course, the fourth
Yeah.
is this idea of secondary canopy, like a second canopy.
A second growth kind of coming up.
Yeah, the new kids on the block.
No other species that grow there. So
Yeah.
there are new kids, but they are also junipers, and they're just kind of coming up in between because they're shade intolerant species.
Yes.
So they would be coming up just in spaces in between.
So that's no secondary canopy.
There's just one level of trees.
Yeah.
And if it's old because no fires have come through, there's probably not a whole lot of vacant space left over 1,500 years. So you're finding that these trees are just kicking it in one level, just getting really old. And you're like, okay, well, then how do we actually, like, what can we measure? Can we see how old these trees are?
It doesn't even sound like there's a canopy, period. When I think of canopy, I think of like kind of connected.
Yeah, closed canopy is that term. Yeah, exactly. These, not the case.
Yeah.
In fact, this is it's a woodland in a technical sense, which I think is really interesting because a woodland has a very particular amount of tree canopy per area. So I think it's like less than 10% or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact particulars, but yeah, there's like what equals a savanna versus a woodland versus a forest.
Is the percentage of the area that's covered in a canopy?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
Shrubland. Don't
exactly.
even get me started.
Don't even get him started on shrublands. I don't want to hear it.
So here's my final consensus.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like these are not old growth forests.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Prove me wrong.
All right.
Bitch.
So here is where I think the fun kind of comes in.
Oh, wow.
The oldest sampled specimen is 1,600 years old.
Oh my God.
That's a big tree. That's an old tree.
Yeah.
So if it is that old, that is twice as old as the oldest, generally speaking, Douglas fir or hemlock or Sitka spruce or noble fir in our giant forest. When we walk through and we say this is an old growth forest.
But that's not the only qualifier.
It's not the only qualifier. But if you have an entire area, an entire woodland filled to the brim with these trees, you walk to one, boom, there it is. Great, there's a tree. You walk a little bit further. It's definitely not an open area that's like a grass kind of field with a tree here, a tree there.
Yeah.
It's very much like you walk into it, like this is a woodland.
Okay.
I wouldn't go maybe forest, but it's definitely a woodland filled with trees as the dominant feature here.
Okay.
They can live for up to, at least, this is the one we measured, about 1,600 years. But the trick is they decay in the middle over time.
Okay.
When they decay in the middle and start to create cavities, they've been there for a long time because they are so slow at decaying.
Sure.
So if there's a cavity that's even remotely a large size, you know that that's been there for enough time to have that entire section decay out.
Okay.
Then when they do their drills and they count the rings of the sections that are still there, they get numbers up to like 560, 250, 300 and things.
Okay.
So we know that just the outer shell of the tree itself is 500 years in some cases, which is, for a Douglas fir, its entire lifespan.
Oh, I thought Douglas firs were longer lived.
The oldest ones I know of also grow in really arid conditions, and I think they're like 1,300 years old. But the ones that you'd see growing in the Coast Range, in the Cascades, in the Olympic National Forest or National Park area, those generally 800 at the max.
Okay, yeah.
At the max. Now I say max, every tree can live for a long time, blah, blah, blah. But generally what we have understood to be their kind of, I haven't found any that are older than this.
Yeah.
Going to be like 500 to 800 years.
Okay, interesting.
So if we're dealing with these little tiny trees, the way that we can look at them and say, well, they got to be old growth because they're older than almost every other tree around here. So how can we start defining this? And it turns out that you have to look at the shape and the form of the tree to determine, is this an old growth tree? And then look across an entire woodland to say, are these old trees in an old growth forest? Now you'll recall at one point, I've said that there is no old growth tree. It's just an old tree. Because an old growth is a forest type.
Right, yeah.
So an old growth tree is a tree growing in an old growth forest.
A misnomer.
Exactly. And I hear this happening all the time. I've probably made that mistake here a few different times. But when I am making that comment, my brain is saying, oh, we are in a forest of old growth trees, which makes it an old growth forest. But because it's not a forest, it's like an old growth woodland. So it makes it a little harder.
Sure.
But what you're looking for, and the way that they can tell these trees are these ancient specimens, is you look for those canopies that are no longer triangular.
Aha.
The triangular canopy, that's a young gun.
Okay.
That's a tree that is still has green as summer grass. Has not experienced any night, any winter, nothing.
Wow.
This is a metaphor towards a song of ice and fire.
A gay?
A gay
A
song.
gay song of ice and fire.
Yeah. So this is a song in ice and fire as performed by the village people.
I see. Bran.
Yes.
Sweet Summer Child.
This is a Sweet Summer Child.
Okay.
So those are the triangular trees. As they get older, they will start to have like cavitation happen. So they'll end up having not enough water, and then they will break, and then their cells will die back.
I've heard that term.
Yes, we talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so, several times, or several months ago. It's basically when you get embolisms inside the pipes of the tree.
That's right.
So it just cracks, and then that becomes no longer functional tissue, so the water doesn't move up.
Yep.
So then everything above it dies.
Gotcha.
Now, junipers are really good at dealing with that. In fact, they can often have it happen and then regrow again, like make their cells not be completely unfunctional. But that's another story for another juniper, baby.
And over time, of course, it's going to happen. So like the older trees, you can see it more clearly.
Exactly. Okay. Especially if your over time is like 1,000 years, right?
Sure, yeah.
That's going to be a long time to have droughts and have years of plenty. And you'll see that in the tree where as it's growing up perfectly triangular, in a big drought year, the top of that triangle is going to die. So then it continues to grow from the side. Maybe it gets struck by lightning. Maybe it gets hit by a huge windstorm and it breaks a bunch of things off in this whole canopy section and bark dies. So now you have this sectored architecture. So the only bit that's living is this strip of bark on the leeward side connected to a small bit of regrown branches that are connected to a small bit of roots underground.
Yeah.
That tree, technically still alive, could regrow its entire canopy, even though 3/4 of it is dead. That would start to create cavities and hollows. You get more bird species that make nests in that area right there. You start to see this complex canopy, this large size. Then you see trees right over there doing the same thing. Then you see all those young guns that are coming up every now and then. And they get, they're fine, but they're triangular. And you're like, that's a young tree. That's a young tree growing in an old area. Then you see the old ones that have died, fallen over, and that kind of thing that also fit our definition.
Yeah.
But because you can't just measure most of these trees because they are hollow on the middle, or half of them have died, so you can't really find what's the middle in the first place, and because they don't develop those same dynamics as a system that has a lot more water in it, our forest on the west side or any other forest we can ever say is going through succession, calling this old growth means that you just have to go look at the trees and say, okay, that's an old tree, therefore this is an old growth forest. Which throws my definition kind of out the window.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Well, certainly there has to be Casey gave up.
I'm done.
Casey quit Arbortrary.
Thanks, guys.
Certainly there has to be some sort
I'm
of...
going into finance now.
I can see that. Certainly there has to be some sort of like threshold, like what percentage of the trees here are old.
Yeah.
That makes it old growth. There can be like one really, really old tree. Like, this is old growth.
Right. And so they have given some of these ideas. So you have to have a bunch of dead parts still hanging in the tree, a lot of cavities, strips of living bark like we talked about, lichen, and less than 10% regeneration. So you have a very small amount of new trees coming, which means you have like 90% of the area are these big, wide-spaced old trees.
Less than 10% of new trees.
Less than 10%.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So they've
That's like the new laws of the land for old growth in the Southwest.
1 hectare has 2.47 acres. So essentially 1 hectare is 2.5 acres. So that would be, instead, it would be like, I don't know, what's 80 divided by 2.5? 32. So basically 2.5 acres per hectare. If we divide 2.5 into 80, you have about 32 trees per acre.
This is not helpful to me.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's all gibberish.
All right.
I don't do numbers.
Well, this is for our listeners then. You're welcome, everybody.
Right. I forgot about those.
Alex
guys.
is sacrificing for our greater good.
For I so love the podcast.
Casey, I need you to tell me about calculations, please. Yeah, so 32 trees is not a crazy amount. So let me give you another example.
Okay.
So old growth ponderosa pine, that would have 25 trees per hectare versus 80 trees for the junipers.
Oh, okay. So more densely populated than those ponderosa pine.
Yes, with smaller trees.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we're looking at we're no longer defining like this is old growth because we're looking at all these characteristics of the trees that we can kind of like see these dynamics happening. You could have a forest of medium, middle-aged trees or even young trees that will be at the same density, but they don't have the same attributes.
Yeah.
So you have to say, okay, everything else looks basically the same, except these trees start to look really different.
Sure.
So they're just they're just unique enough, these junipers and a few other species as well, that you can't just say old growth forest because it has these 4 things. You're like, well, it honestly doesn't have any of those things, but it's still an old growth forest.
Yeah, it can't have those things.
It
So
can't.
we have to come up with a new list of rules, which they have, I guess.
Which makes me think, if we have to come up with a new list of rules for everything, does that make the rules in the first place like applicable? Or do we have to say, for this system to be an old growth forest,
Yeah.
it's got to have these?
It's got like regional rules.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Like, what makes an old growth saguaro forest?
Sure, yeah.
Well, you have to see how many little arms are coming out because it takes 80 years for it to grow 1 arm or something like that.
Whoa. Yeah, I think that saying, that old growth forests are big Pacific Northwest, the type. I think that's a little PNW centrist.
Oh, well, I mean, there's like old growth forests all over the place. It doesn't have to be necessarily the P&W, but it could be like, what's an old growth eastern forest,
Sure, yeah. But when I think old growth forest,
Yeah.
maybe this is just because I grew up here, I think of, big, tall Douglas fir and western hemlock. Like, I can see it in my mind. It's very green.
Totally, yeah. Well, also, most of the ones over east have been cut down anyway, so we don't really have those anymore.
By the Warehousers?
No, actually, just by your normal good old farmer out there saying, look at all this beautiful land, let's cut all the trees down.
So I can see it better.
Yeah, I gotta see it better. Gotta get rid of all them Indians out there in the woods.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's why we did it.
So problematic, farmer.
Yeah. So but I think what you're getting at least if I may, is that you are noticing that there's like, I don't know, maybe a certain forest type centric, where it's like, okay, you have a certain amount of water. That is not necessarily the limiting factor that's keeping these systems at bay.
Sure.
So if you add enough water, you have no disturbance, what happens? How does the whole forest develop? Then you can say, great, this is an old growth versus a young growth because of the species and these other complex composition things. But then as soon as you add in another like complicating factor, in this case, water, what's the water availability? And if water is this big thing that's keeping things at bay, all of a sudden you have to develop a whole different style of knowing what is old growth and what is not.
Totally.
And because this is a unique system, you're like, okay, so this is a unique way that we can say this is an old growth based on these interesting, almost subjective characteristics,
Yeah.
Well, this tree looks old, therefore all these trees are old growth.
Right. It kind of reminds me of like wrestling, what do they call them? Divisions,
No.
Like class, like weight classes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, those guys are 300 pound and 6'4". They fight each other, but we're not going to compare their strength to the
welterweight or the featherweight.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't put them up against each other. You have to like create a new sort of idea of what it means to be strong.
I gotcha.
For these little guys.
For me. Yeah, okay, I'm with that. I think that's a fair way to go about it.
A fun way to think about it. Well, Casey, I would love to give a second review.
This is going to be a second review.
To the Western Juniper.
Yeah.
We got to do that after a quick break, but we will be right back with our review of the Western Juniper here on Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. That was our second discussion on the Western Juniper. Casey, it's time to give a rating to this tree again.
Let's do it.
Here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts. This time for real final.
Yeah, like for real.
And there will be no further thoughts on this tree.
No, and if you email us, we will delete it.
Yep. Before we even read it, so don't bother.
Don't even bother.
And then give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. Those cones perhaps have a glaucous cover on them that confuse you.
And they look tasty.
Casey, as our resident expert, will begin with you.
All right. So, I love this tree.
Wow.
I really do. And I think it's vilified unduly, personally. I think...
If I may say, when I came back from the bathroom and sat down, you were reading something and you said, juniper invasion.
I was.
And scoffed at it.
I did. I scoffed at it because I hate it. I hate the idea of people saying, no, this is unnatural. This is a species that shouldn't be here growing like this. And I just want to like take the mirror and turn it around on those people and be like, look at you. Like this is what these trees are doing. You can't blame them for doing what they do because you changed how the landscape has functioned for thousands of years.
Yeah, you facilitated the change.
Exactly. And now you're mad at the tree, you know? It's like, no, you No. So, personally, one of my favorite things is that this is a species that is so like, I don't know, it's under the radar. Like it's vilified and people hate it and they look at it and they're like, that tree sucks. But then when you like look into the kind of the specs of it, it is a tree that can live well over 1,000 years, like over 1,600. That's the oldest one that we have, at least right off the looking at this website.
Crazy.
Then you look at like this complex form that they grow that appears to be something on the level of the bristlecone pine in the sense of its like development of the forest system and like the whole canopy architecture.
I'm also reminded of Coast Redwood.
Yes, especially when they get really old, they break apart and they regrow over and over. So I think that like this is a tree that people kind of see and they think, I hate this tree. This tree's dumb. Juniper, blah. And like it doesn't really get this like this extra look that I think it needs. So these people, this thing, Jenna, and like other people who I've like heard be like, oh, I actually love Western juniper. When you actually look at them, you're like, oh my God. That thing's grown out of the middle of a rock and it's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard of.
What's not to like?
Exactly. The beautiful bark is just so, it just takes me. Whenever I see incredible, like, forms of trees with beautiful bark on top of it, I'm just like, I could just lay right here forever. So, personally, I want to give, I don't remember what I gave it the last time. I'm going to give it an 8.7 this time because I just think they are such interesting, beautiful trees. They are not the oldest of the junipers, so I can't give them anything more than a 9, obviously.
What is that?
I think it's the Sierra juniper. It's an 8.7 because I think that it's just, I think they are just such amazing trees.
Yeah.
They get vilified because they apparently grow like weeds, and I get it, whatever, I hear you, but also you're stupid and dumb and change your ways.
I agree.
So if you go out and look at these trees in these old, weird places that they're growing, the first question is, how the hell did you even start growing here, much less live for this long? And then when you see their complexities, you're like, man, that's a gorgeous tree. Like that tree, it like just demands respect. Yet I just think it doesn't get any.
Fair enough, Casey.
That's what I love about this tree.
8.7, you said?
8.7 G, C's, O's, H's.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Seamless. Well, here's what I think about the Western juniper.
Yeah.
I think they're beautiful.
Okay.
I was in Bend a couple years ago and around that area, and I was just geeking out on these I was like, oh my God, these things are incredible looking.
Yeah.
They are like, it was like the bristlecone pine in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to California and look and climb a mountain to see these beautiful, like storied, weird, craggly trees.
They're right there.
Yeah. You know, my one complaint with a conifer that's like big, tall, right up, straight up.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's interesting.
Yeah, you can't really like, you can't make a connection with it other than the stem, which is right there, and you just can hug that, and that's pretty much it.
That's a good point. Yeah. But a small, really like craggly juniper with its branches are kind of going out in weird angles, like a bunch of snakes,
Yeah.
And it has like kind of twisted from the wind from its matrix bullet time for the last 1,000 years.
It's incredible.
I think that is so much more beautiful and interesting than like a big tall tree. I don't really give a shit about those.
Incredible choices. I love this, and I'm very happy to hear it.
And that shall be reflected in my score, which is 8.5. Just under yours.
8.5. Okay, I think that's very fair. I like this.
But I love these trees a lot, and I think they smell incredible.
Oh my God, don't
Oh
they?
my gosh. At the Airbnb I was staying at, I walked out in the morning, and it was so fucking quiet, and the wind was blowing gently, and the sun had just started shining on these trees.
Tell us lower.
And the smell, the scent, the odor
Even better.
That's interesting. There's 3 different words for that, and they all kind of mean different things. And it was just so good. It was like so floral and herby, and oh God, I could have stood there and sniffing forever.
Yeah, which would have been, kind of fun if someone walked by and like, there's just this guy standing there sniffing.
Just breathing deeply.
Really, I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to call the cops.
Yeah, I just love these trees. I think they're so cool.
All right, me too.
And I don't care for their vilified nature.
Yeah, you know what?
Give them a break.
Give them a break. Speaking of break,
our sponsor for this episode is Kit Kat.
Our sponsor is Kit Kat. Choose wisely.
That's their new slogan?
It is.
Oh, it's weird.
Well, I guess, I don't really
strangely
know.
ominous.
It's strangely ominous, but I'm going to buy a Kit Kat just in case.
One of these Kit Kat halves has a razor in it. Choose wisely.
That would be so funny. I would really love that. Honestly, we put razors in here because you can sue us and we'll give you a lot of money. So be careful.
One is poison.
Okay, I have an update. The oldest of the junipers, according to my calculations, is Juniperus grandis. These aren't my calculations. I just went to the spot that I know has a good list. Juniperus grandis, that's the Sierra juniper. Got a guess for the age?
I'm going to say 2,000 plus.
Yes, 2,000 plus, 675.
Wow, 2,500 plus.
Yes, so 2,675 for Juniperus grandis.
Wow.
The next is Juniperus przewalski, which I believe grows over in some other part of the world. It's in China. That one, 2,460 years.
Wow.
Then we have to go to Osteosperma. That's the Utah juniper. That one comes in at a hot 1967, baby.
Nice.
Then Juniperus scopulorum, that's the Rocky Mountain, 1888. Okay. So 1,888 years. Then finally, Juniperus communis, 1647, followed quickly by Juniperus occidentalis.
Okay.
At 1,600 years.
So it's like 8th on the list.
Yeah, it doesn't even reach the next one. I believe 1600 all the way to 2,600.
Yeah.
So literally 1,000 years older.
Crazy.
For other species.
What was that first one? Where does that one grow?
That grows in the southern Sierra Nevada. Well, actually, it kind of just grows in the Sierra Nevada.
Okay.
It's actually, interestingly, really closely related to the western juniper. Once you get down past like Redding, California, let's kind of draw a line there. The junipers on the east side of the Sierra Nevada become Juniperus grandis rather than Juniperus occidentalis.
Interesting.
Yeah, really just such a wildly beautiful tree. It's the one that grows at the highest elevations in like Yosemite National Park and things like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, really just spectacularly gorgeous.
Damn, that's an old-ass tree.
Yeah, it is number 4, Juniperus grandis, on the list of longest-lived trees.
Period.
Yeah, number 4. First one, Pinus longeva. You remember that? 5,067 years.
Crazy.
It's insane.
That's bristlecone.
That's bristlecone. Then Fitzroya cupratoides, which you've also covered. The Alerce, 3,622. Sequoia giganteum with a third place finish at 3,266.
God damn.
There you have it.
And there you have the Western Juniper. Casey, it's time for a game.
What game do we have today, my friend?
Well, this time we're taking a walk down memory lane.
What? I didn't know that we had those.
Casey, here's how this game works.
Okay.
I am going to read an excerpt from one of our episodes.
No. Don't do this to me.
It is your... And these are all from the review portion of these episodes.
Okay.
It is your job to tell me which one of us said it and about which tree it was said.
Which one of us said it and about which tree?
Yep. Here's your first one. I love the idea that it's a giant version of a diminutive shrubby plant. That just seems fun to me.
Yeah.
Who said that and what tree did they say it about?
I think you said that and we were talking about the ombu.
Casey, you're close.
Damn it.
We were talking about the ombu.
But I said it?
You said that.
Oh, hell yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, man. I love the ombu. That's Phylodacta dioica or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. It's that old secondary anomalous growth.
That's right.
Species. It's related to the pokeberry.
Good memory.
Thank you.
So it's possible to get 2 points from each of these.
Shit.
You got 1 point for correctly identifying the tree.
Okay. Great. I'm happy with that. I'm not unhappy. I'm happy.
Here's your next quote. As a tree, it's so-so. However, it gives us delicious food And in my mind, there's almost no better mission a tree can fulfill.
Okay, so you said that. That's for sure.
That's one point.
But which tree are we talking about? Could you use it in a sentence, please?
What?
I just need I need another clue.
As a tree, it's so-so. That's really the only only clue about the tree.
As a tree, it's so-so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is, I think you've thought like at least 2/3 of our trees are so-so because they didn't make delicious fruit.
Sure.
So I can at least get that far.
But it does say delicious food, which means I like the food that is made out of this.
And it isn't, you haven't said it's the best food, so it's not like a mango or something like that.
No.
But you like it as a tree, so-so. I wanna say like the passion flower tree that we did, because I think it feels like you said, I don't really care about this tree, but I like the fruit. But you didn't. It doesn't seem like you really waxed poetic about it. So it's not gonna be something that you really love to death.
No. Is that your guess, passion flower?
I'm gonna say yes.
No. It was about the curry leaf tree.
The curry leaf tree.
Yep.
All right, that's fair because you haven't really you hadn't tried that like very much, right?
The curry leaves themselves?
Yeah.
I suppose not. I've had plenty of curry.
Exactly. Yeah. Dang it.
Oh, you stand at 2 points, Casey.
I'm at 50%. That's good enough. I'm happy with that. Now I want to have a curry tonight.
Here's your next quote.
Okay.
Outside of its native area, it's a scourge. Scourge?
Scourge?
Scourge.
Yeah. Wait, this is
this is all
verbatim,
part of the
isn't it? God damn you, Alex. Yeah, I got rid of the ums and the long-windedness, but not your idiotic things. I'm certainly the one who...
By the way, everybody should go watch the audition sketch from Mr. Show. It's very related to what just happened. Outside of its native area, it's a scourge. Scourge? Scourge. Everyone hates it. It's kind of a tree that has meshed two things together. It's not quite a conifer by any means of the definition, but it looks and acts like a conifer. And it's not a broadleaf tree because it looks and acts like a conifer.
Oh, man. This one's hard, but it shouldn't be. Okay.
I feel like it has more clues than the other ones.
Yeah, I definitely think that I said that. It's just long-winded enough.
That is correct.
Okay. So it's not a conifer. Outside of its native habitat, it's a scourge.
Or scourge.
Or scourge. We're not sure. But we're pretty positive it's scourge.
And everyone hates it.
And it's not, I said it's not a conifer?
You said it's not quite a conifer by any means of the definition, but it looks and acts like a conifer. And it's not a broadleaf tree because it looks and acts like a conifer.
Oh my God. How do I get away with this?
This was not meant to highlight your inaccuracies.
I know. Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate the unique way of me saying things.
We'll think of a tree that is hated and looks and acts like a conifer, but isn't.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to think of. But it makes me think of the she oak casuarina.
Casey, that is correct.
Oh, yes.
Nice job. You got 2 points on that one.
Yes.
That was about the beach she
Jeez. Oh, that really threw me until you gave me that extra push.
This is fun.
This is hard.
This is a good game.
Thanks for doing this homework.
Here's your next one.
Okay.
I need to place my hand on it and feel the ghosts of the ancients. This motherfucker has got to be haunted.
Okay. All right. So that's you for sure.
Correct.
But what tree is haunted that you thought you wanted to touch?
Yeah. By context, you can tell that I have not touched it.
Yes, that is true. That is something that we can make an assumption about. But so it's got to be a tree from somewhere else that you were like, whoa, it's got to be haunted. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be an old tree. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my that's where I'm at.
Okay.
I want to say you, but I don't think you. Mm-mm. But I can't think of anything otherwise because yous, of course, are dead representatives.
Sure.
Representatives of death. This is hard.
You're on the right track with very old.
Okay. And I just went through a list of old trees.
That's true, Casey.
Maybe it's one of those. I honestly, you know what? Man, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to say that it's the ancient bristlecone pine.
And who said it?
You did.
That is correct on both accounts. 2 points.
All right. Now I'm getting some confidence here.
Nice job.
Jeez. Okay, so I've got 2, 4, 6 points now. I'm happy with that.
Ready for your next one?
I'm ready.
This is one metal tree. You give us delicious nuts. You're tall and beautiful. Your leaves are compound. It's like a
That's a beautiful haiku.
haiku.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it again?
Yes, one more time.
This is one metal tree. You give us delicious nuts. You're tall and beautiful. Your leaves are compound. There's a lot of clues in there.
Yes. I kind of just want to say that it's the black walnut.
That is correct.
Yes.
Who said it?
I think you said it.
That is also correct, Casey.
Yeah, baby.
I said that about the black walnut.
Man, that's like it's 5 years old now.
I know.
Incredible.
I was
More
like
than
scrolling
5.
back through our podcast and I was like, how far does this go?
Yeah, you guys realize we've done 250 trees?
That's crazy.
250 trees. That's so many.
Here's your next one.
Okay, what do we got? Throw it at me.
In terms of lore, I love it.
Okay.
That's where it ends.
Whoa.
Otherwise, I have had enough.
I think I said that.
That's correct.
And I think I said it about the English hawthorn.
Incorrect, Casey.
Dang it.
You said that about the Japanese cherry.
The Japanese. Okay, well, all right, this is on brand. You know, you look back and someone's like, you remember when you tweeted that? And you're like, oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I said that.
At least it wasn't Nazi rhetoric.
At least it wasn't Nazi rhetoric. Yep. Luckily, I think I'm safe there. I burned all those books already.
Ready, Casey?
Yeah.
For your next one?
Just to be clear, you guys, I don't burn books.
Right. Not those books.
No.
You hold them very dear to your heart.
They're in a safe lock. When I become a politician, then I will let them out because I want the bad press.
Oh, Lord. All right, Casey, here's your next one.
All right, what do we got?
Nice job living a hard life, thriving in a hard life. It loves a challenge, and I really respect that. They're nutty and sweet, and I can relate.
Okay, so that's you, because you are nutty and sweet. But what would this be? They live a hard life. It makes me want to say like a pistachio.
Casey, that's correct.
Yes.
Nice job.
Oh, because it's also nutty and sweet. I think it's the only one other than an almond, but almonds don't live hard lives. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Nice job.
pistachios live in the desert, basically.
Correct.
I want to go get some pistachios. Honestly, know what I want to do? I want to go get the whatever thing is that we covered with pistachios.
Gelato or baklava?
Baklava from whatever baklava place you went.
Dude, that place is so good.
I'm going to go buy them out.
All right, Casey, here's your next one.
Okay.
It's a bit of an Admiral's coconut, if you know what I mean.
Oh. An Admiral's coconut. Do I know what that means? No. But I want to say Coco de Mar. And I want to say that you said it because I don't know what that means. And if I did say it, it's in reference to something that I have forgotten.
Casey,
Yes.
both of those are incorrect.
I said that?
You said that about the governor's plum.
The governor's plum. Oh, yeah.
Admiral's
okay. That's
coconut.
right. Because we were making funnies there.
No points on that one, my friend.
Oh, God. I'm not even going to. This is not my best work.
I think you should be able to get this last one.
Okay. Let's try.
Here is your last
I'm ready.
stroll down memory lane.
Okay.
From a marketing standpoint, it's the Coca-Cola of trees. However, from a practical standpoint, I want to relate it to Chris Pratt. I used to love it, but now it's just too much. Plus, one time I tried to grab Chris Pratt and he poked my hand.
Okay.
A lot of clues in there.
There's a lot of clues. Which one of us tried to grab Chris Pratt? Okay, so I kind of, okay, this is not my answer, but I kind of think that I said that because I might be the only one to do that. But also, I don't think I've ever thought to myself, I'm over Chris Pratt. So that's why I think you said it, because you're way more in touch with your Chris Pratt over-under, situation.
My Chris Pratt hate?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I've kind of let that go.
Okay.
I still think he's really funny. A great hero.
So it sounds like you're holding on.
I am holding on. I
let go.
I think you said that.
He's also related to RFK, or his wife is like RFK's daughter.
He's a Kennedy.
Yeah.
Nice. Good for him.
He's very defensive of Trump.
Chris Pratt is? Is that true?
It's true, Casey.
Really?
Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, no. All right.
He said on a podcast, he was like, some of these people ripping on Trump every day, I just can't imagine like focusing on the bad so much.
Yeah, well, that seems, that's a little apologetic.
You want me to read the quote again?
Yes, could you give it to me one more time?
From a marketing standpoint, it's the Coca-Cola of trees.
The Coca-Cola of trees.
However, from a practical standpoint, I want to relate it to Chris Pratt. I used to love it, but now it's just too much. Plus, one time, I tried to grab Chris Pratt and he poked my hand.
Okay.
So you're looking for a tree with great mass appeal
Yeah.
that might poke your hand.
Yes. So the thought that comes to me is the Colorado blue spruce. That's where I'm at. But like, did I ever used to like the Colorado blue spruce? Did you ever like the Colorado blue spruce?
Probably not.
This one's hard. Okay, I think I'm gonna lock in on the blue spruce, the Colorado blue spruce.
And who said it?
I think you said it.
You get 1 point for that, Casey. I did say this.
You did say it, but it's a different tree.
English holly.
The English holly.
Yep. And I think what I meant by the Coca-Cola thing
Yeah.
is like that it's like so classic. You know, English holly is so classic.
Yeah.
But I think at the time I was also doing a thing in my brain where I was like, oh, there's like, it's very Christmassy, the English holly. And I love those. I loved those like Christmas
The polar
Coca-Cola
bears.
episodes, advertisements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got 13 points, Casey.
Out of 20?
Out of 20.
Wow.
13 out of 20. What is that? A B?
That's a score. I think I got a D.
Damn.
That sucks.
Is that your first time ever getting a D?
No.
Well, Casey, that was a walk down memory lane. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I sure did.
That was a
nice.
fun one.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, guess what, everyone? You're going to get a lot more of that.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, this is just an appetizer. Casey, it's time for our completely arbitrary AMA.
All right, let's do it.
If you want to ask a question on the podcast, become a Treemium member. It is the best way to support this podcast. Arbitrarypod.supercast.com. It's ARBORTRARY pod.supercast.com. Now, this week we got one from Finn. Finn says, hi, Casey and Alex. The subject line is, what's going on with this lumpy, bumpy tree?
All right.
I saw this tree during a neighborhood walk a few months ago and have been wondering about it ever since. Do you know what might have caused all the lumps and bumps on this tree? I'm in Bozeman, Montana, if that helps narrow things down.
I love Bozeman.
And then
just this summer.
Finn sent a link and said, thanks for answering and for all that y'all do. I'm selfishly sad to hear Completely Arbitrary is taking a break, but I'm stoked for you guys for this next chapter.
You guys are going to be stoked with this next chapter. I'm convinced you're going to have a good time.
I don't feel like it'll feel like the end at all.
No, I think everyone's going to,
you know.
Yeah.
Casey and I worked out a plan for what's happening for the next year, and it's like, oh, this is like, it's just the podcast.
We're just doing the podcast.
It's just a little different.
Yeah, guess what? This is all a ploy. We're just trying to get you guys to feel sad so that we can be like, just kidding, and then have everyone be like, what? And get really stoked.
Buy this new piece of Just Kidding merch from Completely Arbitrary. So, Casey, yeah, Finn sent us some photos.
Yep.
And I'm scrolling through them, and let's describe what we see here.
Okay.
It is a tree this photo was taken, I believe it's a sweet gum.
It might be. I actually can't tell. I was trying to do some little ID there.
Sure. I just see some gumball looking things.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was fruit or like old leaves, but yeah, you're on the level. You're on the level for sure.
Maybe like alder cones or something. And this photo was taken in the winter months,
Yeah,
so there are no trees on this. Excuse me, there are no leaves on this tree.
There are no trees on this leaf.
And it's just a single stemmed broadleaf tree.
Yep.
But the main stem is covered in what looks like big stones.
Yeah,
like big
yeah.
round bulbous like rocks, but they're covered in bark, so they're a part of the tree.
Yeah.
Do you know what is going on with this tree?
I do to an extent. And this is kind of the thing. Those are burls.
Describe what a burl is.
All right. A burl is an aberrant growth out of the side of a tree.
What does aberrant mean?
Aberrant means that it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And it's not a part of the normal growth where you would see every year a tree will put on another ring, right? So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, a million, whatever rings. And each one of those rings is basically the same size, depending on where the tree is growing or what it's doing or lots of little things. Maybe some of the rings are thicker, maybe some are thicker in certain places, but generally you're not going to see anything too crazy. It's going to be like a cylinder that's growing. Every now and then there is a burl that happens, and a burl is when some part of that growth pattern kind of goes rogue and it just starts growing in some random way for some random reason. But most of the time, what it looks like, for all intents and purposes, is a tumor growing on the side of a tree.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like cancer.
It kind of is, but in the sense that cancer grows in humans in a certain particular way, it really kind of throws off the description of it, because trees don't grow like human cells do. So when you have a cell that just randomly starts to replicate itself and becomes a tumor, then it can like change and make other parts of your body kind of start to replicate themselves in weird ways, to the point where your body starts attacking yourselves, and like that's when you get this awful kind of bodily betrayal almost. But because trees are compartmented systems, when one section starts growing in a weird way, it doesn't actually affect any of the other systems. So it doesn't like spread, the way a cancer might, metastasize, I think is the term.
Yeah.
So in this case, burls are happening in particular locations, and some trees, I think, like individuals, could be genetically, but I think individuals as well, are just more likely to have burls than others. One great example is the Bleriana plum. It's this hybrid between the Japanese apricot and the purple leaf plum.
Susceptible to burls.
The stem just grows weird burly growths for it's an ID characteristic.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's so common and prevalent in that one hybrid.
The anomaly has become the status quo.
Exactly.
Okay.
So why does it happen on this particular tree? No clue.
Wow.
So must be genetic, because as soon as you make it into a hybrid, that's when it really starts to do this weird thing. The normal species don't do it near as much.
Okay.
So this is an example of that. But what happens with these kind of burls is, it could be a canker. Sometimes they develop where you get a little canker that kind of affects one section of the bark or one section of the living tissue underneath the bark, and the tree responds by compartmentalizing and growing wood around it.
Yeah.
Then that canker breaks out from that little kind of compartmented section. Then it grows a little bit more. Then the tree says, "Hey!" and grows back around it. And it continually grows around and compartmentalizes off this section. Give that several decades, and you can get this weird amount of growth kind of bulbously growing off the side of a tree, where it's just essentially getting wounded and then compartmentalizing that wound, then getting wounded and compartmentalizing over and over and over.
Sure,
and over.
like scar tissue.
Exactly, yeah, where it just keeps building up.
Yes.
Right?
So, but this is not a canker, you're thinking?
I don't think this one is a canker.
Okay,
no.
this is more burl style.
This I think is just a straight burl, where the other way that I have noticed burls happen, and why is it exactly? I don't really know. But for whatever reason, a sprout, a latent bud underneath the bark will pop. And it will grow a little teeny tiny little shoot. And then you can see some in one of these pictures where a couple of these little sprouts have been cut off. So it could be that this tree sprouted, and then someone came and said, "Stop sprouting," cut off all those sprouts. Then the tree compartmentalized over that little sprout, and then continued to grow that little compartmentalized sprout and put more wood on it. Because, of course, if you grow over the top of that thing, now you have to put a new layer of wood over the top of that old layer, so on and so forth, until you get this kind of developing bulbous thing.
Wow.
So every now and then that would happen if a bud just doesn't even grow. Like maybe it just malfunctions for some reason and then triggers the tree to put on a little bit of wood. Wherever you get that little bit of wood, it then will grow another little bit of wood on top of it, because it puts a new layer on every single part, no matter what.
Yeah.
So even if that part kind of is in a weird place and isn't doing a whole lot, you're still going to get that little bit of compartmentalization. Now, another thing that can happen is you can get buds that themselves start to kind of go crazy. where each individual bud will like grow 10,000 new buds. So one little latent bud will kind of freak out, and then it will be like, rah, grow 4 new buds, then more buds on top of that, then more buds on top of that. Some of those will sprout and become these little sprouts, but generally it will just become this kind of malfunctioning, like overdrive build bud. That's the most I think you can like say that's kind of a cancerous growth in a tree.
It's like a hydra.
Exactly, where it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and just builds more and more and more.
Yeah.
But then every time it builds one, it then will have to put a new layer of wood around those old cells every single year.
Interesting.
So you get this really complex grain pattern where you have maybe hundreds and hundreds of individual little sprouty buds are putting on new wood every single year, and that's creating this bulbous growth that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And there are some like there's a big leaf maple here in town that has this happening where it looks like it's got a huge bulbous growth at the base of it, almost like a big burl in and of itself. Because there's also the use of burl for the manzanitas and the eucalyptus. That's like a big thing at the base of the tree where it sprouts from the base.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
essentially the same thing, but it's more like a it's not a bug, it's a feature of that tree where it's this big growth period or growth space right at the level of the soil.
Yeah.
This is where it's growing on the side of the stem, right?
Right. And pretty high up, too.
Yeah, it grows all the way up. So it makes me think that this tree kind of has something genetically going wrong with it.
Interesting.
Where it kind of has these buds that are either sprouting because they're stressed out, or they're growing and then getting cut off, or they grew, were cut off, and now are just continuing their compartmentalizing kind of pattern. But they, being so many on the side of this tree, make me think that this tree just kind of has some genetic mutation that's causing it to have these weird aberrant growths kind of pop up all over it.
Yeah.
Which I think is something similar to other species. So what are the genes of this particular tree? Who knows? Maybe it's this tree. Maybe it's a hybrid. Maybe it's a particular variety or genetic stock that already was predisposed to this. Who knows?
There is one other thing in this photo that I thought might be a clue.
Yeah.
Without really knowing anything about it. Appears to be a giant gash in the side of the tree.
Yes. Yeah. I saw that as well.
That has kind of been partly compartmentalized or partly grown over.
Yeah.
Could that possibly be a symptom or a...
Yeah, it might, because you can also see in some of these photos that the tree has been kind of hacked. So it's been cut down or like topped a few different times. There's also some broken bits.
True.
So the tree kind of seems like it's been battered a little bit.
Yeah, this tree doesn't look like it's doing too well.
Yeah, but it could be doing fine. It's just getting kind of like battered. And so it has send out sprouts that basically say, I'm getting really stressed out by all these other things happening. So I'm going to send out my emergency sprouts lower in the stem to try to get more light. Big leaf maples do this all the time. So as they do that, if someone comes over and cuts them all, be like, wow, this tree's not supposed to have branches this low. Then they cut them. Then the tree could send out more sprouts. Then they cut off those sprouts, but they're going to get that burl developing with those sprouts coming out every single year, no matter what.
Yeah.
Happens all the time with all sorts of trees. So those are burls, and they're growing in some weird way for some weird reason. The most I can tell you, and the most I think anyone really can, is that burls exist, and this is how they do that. Why they exist is usually something that is unexplainable. We don't really know why burls happen.
Okay.
And what the exact mechanism is that works it. So conceivably, we should be able to go and say, all right, I know exactly how this happens, nick a tree in a certain spot, and then boom, a burl will develop, which would be great because people make them into bowls all the time. So you can turn them into really nice, beautiful, very interestingly spiral, curly grained wood into these high-end kind of bowls and cups and things like that.
They are shaped like a bowl.
They really are, yeah. So like people have gone into, there's one area that I've seen where a Sitka spruce has had a part cut off of it, where there's just a big burl off of it. Someone comes with a chainsaw and just goes and just cuts it off and then turns it away. So it's like essentially cutting off a high value part of a tree in a national forest.
Whoa.
They did this in the redwoods for years. It was a huge problem.
Damn.
Still is probably today.
Wow.
So yeah, someone could conceivably go cut these all off and turn it into a beautiful piece of art.
You know, as you're describing this process of like these little buds kind of like the Hydra thing, or like, little bud. It sounds like an ingrown hair or something.
Yeah, totally.
I started to get that kind of queasy, like body horror sort of feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like, even though it's not human flesh, I'm like, oh, that must hurt.
Yeah.
It looks inflamed, or, like some sort of, like it's filled with pus or something. I just got so grossed out.
I'm sorry. These are not filled with anything but normal wood stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
And
so don't look at it.
Okay. I also want to say, my name is Burl, and I cannot believe we have not used that in our 5 years.
Yeah, we really haven't. Well, we haven't really covered Burls as a thing.
That's true.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Before the end of all things.
My name is Burl.
My name is Burl.
Honestly, funny show. I like that show.
I don't think I ever watched it.
I watched a few of them here and there.
Yeah?
That was good.
That was like the era of like Malcolm in the Middle, which I also never watched contemporaneously, only after the fact. Well, thanks, Finn, for your question. That's an interesting topic, those burls.
Really like it.
And if you've got a question for us, please become a Treemium member. Please become a Treemium member. Arbitrarypod.supercast.com, or go to our website, arbitrarypod.com. You can get some merch to show off your love of trees and your love of Completely Arbitrary. You know what I love? Casey Clapp.
Oh, I love you too, Alex.
We had a nice day together.
Yeah, we sure did.
We went over to McMiniman's Edgefield.
Got ourselves a nice little morning beer.
That's right. There's a new brewery near me, and I casually said, "Hey, Casey, you want to go grab a beer?" Of course, mine would be NA. Everyone knows that. But it was like 11:53, and Casey said, "No, it's too early."
Yeah. I'm an adult. Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is, yeah, right over on the East Coast. I mean, now it's 2:21. Now I'll go. Let's go do it.
I got this stuff to do.
Oh, what? See, this doesn't go both ways.
All right, thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Completely Arbitrary. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye. Completely Arbitrary is hosted by Casey Clapp and Alex Crowson.
Our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals, and our artwork is by Jillian Barthold.
To support the podcast and get rewards in return, become a Treemium member at arbitrarypod.supercast.com.
Thanks for listening.